Hello and welcome to Just Talking. And this week and most of the weeks that you'll see, while Aisha's still going to be here, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Heather Lacey, who is my co-facilitator for the Grief Recovery Program. Hi, Heather.
Hello.
Now, I'm just going to give a little bit of background. I met Heather a while back now. I think it's probably 2 years. Anyways,
Like that.
isn't that how it goes when you meet people and you just get enmeshed and it's like, haven't I known you forever?
Exactly.
So, and what happened was through our relationship, she had become a grief recovery method specialist, and she was looking for somebody to pilot a course called Helping Children with Loss. And it's like, wow, that's really great. Just even the concept that we have something that helps kids with loss. And so I was her pilot, and that was so impressive. I loved the program so much. As they say, I bought the company. I didn't, but that's why I'm representing the grief recovery method in my work these days. So Heather, I know you brought me into this, and I'm grateful to you forever. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved in this, the grief recovery method.
I back in 2005, I got interested in kind of holistic healthcare as a whole. I started anyways with Reiki, and then in 2012 got involved with aromatherapy, reflexology, and I've really spent the last number of years looking at ways to help people and myself heal as a whole, not as opposed to treating a symptom, right? Trying to treat the whole person. So a friend of mine, her mom passed away very suddenly, and was a surprise to all of us. And she went and did some classes, the Grief Recovery Method classes. And when she was in the middle of that, we were talking, and she said, "Heather, you have to check this out. It's amazing. You will love it. It's right up your alley in terms of what you're looking for." And she was right. She was completely right. I started reading the book. I went on the website, signed up for the class. And here we are. Because it was just like you. As soon as I started with it, it was just a phenomenal process, and so well laid out. As we often say, it's very simple but not easy, and it was a wonderful fit for me, for helping me to understand where I was coming from for a number of things, not just about loss and sadness, but just kind of helping me understand that thought process behind how I worked. So it was really an amazing transformation for me.
Exactly. And I love that what you just talked about there. And again, the show is Just Talking, so we still follow the conversation that we have. That's the whole thing. I think one of the things, especially when we're talking about the Helping Children with Loss program, the thing that really impressed me is in all of the programs, there's like a discovery where we start learning about ourselves, but not a therapy standpoint. Not when we're going, oh, I have this problem in this relationship, and we tend to tunnel vision. Instead, it's like, you know what? Why don't we just take a look without any massive problems? But in a lot of cases, it is, Uncle Fred's died, Aunt Susan has left the country. We have a lot, these are different kinds of losses. And one of the things that I appreciate about Heather is that we both come from a death kind background, but not necessarily a grief kind. So, and there's a difference that we know that death is part of life, but the overall impact of how loss and grief actually come into play, that moving to a new house and getting a new bedroom can be fine, but you're also still leaving your friends behind. Right? So that's a real thing. So Heather, I just want to ask you, what's the biggest question that you get in regards to helping children with loss?
I think the biggest question I get, what people need to understand for starters is that Helping Children with Loss is a program for adults. It's for adults to learn ways to help their children. So it's not that we're dealing with the children directly, right? We're teaching, we're giving tools to parents, teachers, childcare workers that they can use to help kids navigate through loss and through grief. But the biggest question I get when people are asking me about helping children with loss is, how can you fix my kids? How can I fix your kids? And I always say, I can't fix your kids. That's not what I do, and that's not for me to do. I can give you the tools to help you help your kids, not fix your kids. But it's always, they want their child to stop hurting, right? And I completely understand that, but there is that how do I fix them? And it's not a fix. It's helping them learn, helping them grow, helping them cope, helping them navigate through the pain and accept what's happening and find a way to move forward.
Yeah, and I think that, again, I think just to add on to that, how comfortable are we letting other people cry because they have feelings that they want to express?
Yeah.
And that, I think, is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. And I think exactly as you say, is you've got a parent or a childcare worker or somebody, and they're going, this child's crying. I want to make them stop, even from babies. But anyways, and that's the part. I know that's a big question that we get a lot. I know that on my end, the one that I get is, what does it look like when a child's grieving? And really, I mean, all these things are, all related. A child is just like an adult. Sometimes you can be, somebody that they're close and near and dear to, but maybe they had a really honest communication with those people. So, they have a better understanding of what's going on, or maybe they have a different perspective of what's going on. And again, it gets into the crying, but a lot of times there's younger kids that you can be really blunt with them because they haven't really been taught that crying's not good, or, a lot of times though, they can also have like emotional expressions that maybe they just start running around the house a little bit more, or maybe they just spend more time in their room. But this is the interesting thing. Again, it's sort of two sides of the same coin, right? That it's like, can you give me the manual? And it's like, no, there's no manual. And so that's the great thing, is that through this process, it allows you to actually take a look through their eyes almost. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. But I think the other part of that too is that with kids, as we know, especially young kids, they tend to mimic yourself, right? You as the parent or the primary adult in their life. So oftentimes, it'll be like, what does grief look like in my child? Or I think my child is upset, or I think and a lot of times they're doing the same thing that you're doing without you realizing that's what they're doing. I love the example that is in the book about the parent that calls, and she's very concerned because her husband has died. So her child's father has died, and she keeps talking about the fact that her child hasn't cried, hasn't gotten upset, hasn't, he just goes to his room and stays quiet. And she always keeps talking about her child's father, not her husband. And when she's asked, and he's like, well, what do you do when you get upset that your husband has died? And she's like, well, I go to another room and cry. And as soon as she started describing what she did, she realized that's exactly what her son was doing. And she just hadn't put it together that he's doing the exact same thing she's doing. And a lot of times that's the problem. Parents or the primary parent or primary adult in a child's life doesn't realize that the child is doing what they're seeing or what they're picking up from you. So the more you can explore how you deal with grief and how you deal with loss and what your kind of basic belief is, and how to express your own feelings, the easier it is to connect with the child.
Exactly. And I know that I reflect upon my when my niece, her grandfather on the other side, on her father's side, you know, there was things like the way that she looked at it was really in a positive way, because I helped her make a memory book, you know, things like this. Yet on taking this course, and again, death kind, not necessarily 100% grief kind, when I was talking about the description of our upbringings. Now, because I would talk to her when she would get excited, really hyper, you know, and kids get really excited when they're overwhelmed and they have too much stimulation. And it's like, is there something that you want to say? Do you want to share something? Like, do you want to talk about something? Well, I don't really know. Now, I would say, well, you know, you can take some quiet time and figure out what it is that you want to say, and then come back and talk to us. But it's not it's not the same, but it can be interpreted the same. That it's like, I'm not saying that I'm not comfortable with your emotions, but if you need to take some time to figure that out. So again, that's almost semantics, that it's like, yeah, you know, go take some quiet time. Maybe that's in your room. Maybe that's just sitting here being quiet. But I think the difference is, as long as we're leaving room for that child to have an emotional expression that's perfectly acceptable without being told off or told that that's wrong, either by us or other unwitting adults or television, or, you know, there's another, anyways, we could go off on a tangent.
we could.
And that's why just talking here, we still try and keep it so that we're not rambling on too much. But this is, if you want to learn more about the Helping Children with Loss program, you can get in touch with myself, gwendalambert.com, or Heather
at heatherandlacey.com.
There you go. So there you go. And that's how you find us. And also, we're going to be here just talking 3 of the weeks, give or take, depending on the long weekends. And then Aisha will be back again for one of those weeks, right? Because we're here to just talk. If there's a subject that you want to know more about, please let us know. And you can like and follow us here on Just Talking, or we also have our own individual YouTube channels that will have these kind of videos on them too. So Heather, welcome. This is your first show. Any parting thoughts? Anything you'd like to share?
I'm looking forward to doing more of this. It's always fun to be able to, well, to just talk, but it's always fun to be able to share and to kind of bounce those ideas back and forth. So I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Okay, guys, we'll see you the next time, and hopefully it's a Sunday. But either way, okay, have a great day.